Hello, welcome to This Is Me Speak Your Truth podcast. I'm here with Christina today, and I'm super excited because we have a few things in common with first responder world. So I'm not going to give away anything. I'm going to let you talk first. How about you tell everyone about a little bit about yourself and your background?
All right. Well, happy Sunday, everybody. I hope you guys have had a good weekend. So, I am Christina. I am a registered nurse and certified nutritional therapy practitioner. I own my own practice called Cheers to Health, where I help individuals. So, I work with adults and kids, where we focus on living a holistic, balanced lifestyle, touching on nutrition, lifestyle, street, personalized supplements, and so much more. I've been a nurse for almost 20 years, which is insane to say that out loud. So I worked in Western medicine majority of my career and now shifting more into the world of holistic health because that is where we truly make an impact on people. And I just don't super align with Western medicine. So that's a big passion of mine. I run a nonprofit here in my community and just really big on doing community outreach when it comes to health. I am married to a first responder, like Tracy said, and I consider myself a first responder healthcare professional. So it is a challenging job, challenging to be married to a first responder. I'm a mom of teen boys. I have chickens and ducks and my dog who's taking a nap. So that's a little bit about me.
That's awesome. I was like, busy life. So, um,
Yes.
within being a nurse for 20 years, like, have you kind of stuck to one subject area or have you kind of moved around in a lot of different areas in nursing?
Yeah, so I started right out of nursing school. I was like 23. So I started young in my career, right into pediatric hematology, oncology, and pediatric bone marrow transplant. So pediatric cancer. I worked in there majority of my career. Then during COVID, I worked in postpartum for like a year and a half or two. Then we lived in Miami majority of our careers, relocated up north, did some pediatrics. I did pediatric mental health, which was, I want to say, like the cherry on top of my career because it really was like this total 180 for me, really seeing how massive our mental health is and our emotional health. And when I work with clients or talk to people, I really harp on like your mindset and your emotions is so key into how your body is going to react. And actually, there's been some studies, like especially with cancer patients, that if they have some emotional traumas that they haven't worked through, that can actually just kind of feed their cancer.
Oh, interesting.
So it's really, really interesting that emotional and mental part of our health. Then I worked at an outpatient surgery center just to like get away from the bedside. So now I work as an independent contractor for a nutrition company. So
Okay.
which is really nice. And then I just work at my surgery center just one day a week and of course my business.
That's awesome. And then,
Yeah.
so doing that, like you're saying, like you're a first responder too, obviously, and be married to one, and you said you have two boys.
Yep. Two
So,
teens.
so how did you juggle as a mom, like scheduling and life with that throughout your career with your husband?
So I will say, my husband and I are very close to our parents. And when we got married, I lived like not even 10 minutes from my parents. So like my parents and my in-laws lived 2 blocks away from each other. So before I met my husband, we lived 2 blocks away since I was like in fourth or fifth grade. So my
Wow.
husband was 2 blocks away from me, but my husband's 5 years older,
Yeah.
and our moms knew each other from like when we were in elementary school. But since my mother-in-law had all boys and my mom had 2 girls, you're not going to really do play dates.
Right. Yeah.
Um, so when I got married, and I got pregnant, my mom stopped working. So I went back to work full time. I was working full time day shift. So 3 12 hours, 3 shifts a week, 12 hours.
Okay.
So 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So my mom stayed with my son, and that was the biggest blessing because once I had my son, we bought our first house when he was like 4 months old, and we lived across the street from my parents. So that was looking for like everything that's happened in my life until now. It was just a gift from God. And that's what we did. So my where my husband works, you work 24 on and then a 48 off, and then you have a Kelly day. Like I think it's like every third week. So, my parents were young too, back then. My mom is now in her mid 60s.
Okay.
So she would stay with my son all day, and then I eventually went to night shift because I was so miserable as a new mom on day shift.
Oh,
I hated going to work, and I would cry to my husband. I'm like, I don't want to go, and this is miserable because by the time I get home, like my son's asleep. So I literally missed a whole day. So then
yeah.
at that time, the hospital that I was at, a lot of the moms did night shift. But in my head, I'm like, when the hell do you sleep?
Right. Yeah.
So they told me, so that's when I went to night shift, when my son was a little over a year old, and he is now almost 17.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I stayed on night shifts. I did really well with it. I do have to say that I ended up, so I had another baby. My kids are 22 months apart. And my in-laws would also help too, with the kids. So if you don't have help when you're a night shift person, like there is no way you can function.
Yeah.
Because I know a friend, like she would stay up like after work, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I did not treat my body that well, like once I was a young mom, because, the house and everything like that. So I had postpartum depression. I realized it after my youngest, I think was like after a year old. And I remember I would stay up to like 3 or 4 in the morning. I didn't know about nutrition. I didn't know like anything of what I know now.
Yeah.
And it was like affecting my work. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? I went to the ER twice for panic attacks.
Wow.
I remember like sitting at the dining table and I'm like, honey, I can't breathe. I mean, it was crazy. And then when they said a panic attack, I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? So I went to my OB. She knew I was like more natural, like a little bit. And she offered me an antidepressant. And I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can get out of it. And I'm a Christian. I believe in God. And I really felt that that period of my life just really robbed a bit of motherhood, and I felt so guilty for the longest time. Like I couldn't talk without crying about it. And I just prayed and I'm like, God, just take it away. So like the next day I just felt better. Like I would get anxious a little bit. But I just didn't correlate my sleep cycle and the way I didn't see that that went together.
Hmm.
And a lot of night shifters, even like now that when I was night shift, they're like, yeah, I'm just gonna stay up all day and then I'll just go to sleep. And I'm like, that is not good for you.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, like there's so much like even at my work right now, they're talking about like changing the shift schedule again, right? Like they're re-looking at it and like it's the research or you're like wondering, but like yeah, they're like, is it 4 days, 4 afternoons, 4 nights is the best system? Or there's some people, yeah, that love to work night shift and you're like,
I
if
do.
you can make that work for like, but it's hard because your body like circadian rhythms, like you're not supposed to be up all night, right? But
I
if you can
know.
have something that's like consistent, but then it's yeah, every body's different. Like some people love to
Yep.
wake up early in the morning. Some people are the night owls where they function
Mhm.
way better at night. Like it is interesting for sure.
It is. And that's why night shift, you get paid more money. Night shift differential is anywhere between $6 to $8 because you're doing the work that most people don't want to do. They want to sleep. And then
Yeah.
I've seen some people that start at night shift. They're like, my thyroid can't take it. And then I remember one girl, she had to go back to day shift. Then this is what you shouldn't do.
Okay.
Okay. So at the last hospital, one of the hospitals I was at, there was this girl. She would always come in with like this big of diet soda. And now I am sipping on a Just Ingredients energy, no caffeine. I haven't had caffeine for almost a month.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, tomorrow's over. I just realized I just looked
Oh,
at
your 30 days. Uh,
Yo, Tracy knows what I'm talking about.
yeah.
So she would come in and she would treat her body like shit.
Yeah.
She would feed her dog better than herself. And I'm like, we would kind of tell her like, hey, look, you gotta take care of yourself. And she was on course medications. And I tried at this point, I had already had my certificate in nutritional therapy. And at this point, my mindset was holistic health and, all that. My mindset and frame of mind was very different. This was just a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, I can't sleep. And I'm like, well, you have to make yourself a priority. So I find out she ended up having Cushing's syndrome.
Oh,
So
wow.
basically, her adrenals were tapped out, and her body and cortisol just was not getting along. She ended up having to take a leave of absence from work. I mean, I don't know what would happen to her now,
Yeah.
but that is just a classic sign of not treating your body well when you are a shift worker. So you can't be surprised if you get diagnosed with something. Oh my God, how did this happen? That's how it happened. Drinking diet soda, you're feeding your body crap ingredients, you're not trying. So, like when I worked night shift, I would try to get myself on a normal sleep cycle the days that I was off.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I was working today, I would be taking a nap around 1. I would nap from 1 to 5, then get up. I would have coffee on my way to work. I would bring food from my house.
Yeah.
I would bring coffee, have coffee like around between 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. That's when I would get sleepy, or just so I can stay through the night. Then I would get home. I would probably be in bed between 8 and 9, try to sleep till like 3 or 4 if I worked that night again. So if I
Yeah.
work tomorrow, you want to sleep most of the day. But if I
Right.
didn't work tomorrow, I'd probably be up by like 1 just so I'm awake and then can try to just go back to sleep. But some people would stay awake the next day.
Yeah. I don't know how
So
people do
like
that. Yeah.
I don't that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know how they're doing it either, but they don't realize the harm that they're doing to their bodies.
Yeah. And then, or you
Mhm.
see the people that are drinking like 3 or 4 energy drinks a
That's
shift
what she
too,
was doing. Yeah,
on top of the coffee. And then it's like I've said to people before too, I find it interesting, like how you say pack your own food. And I see a lot more people I work with now that are packing
for
lunches
sure.
because it's like night shift, half the restaurants are closed. So all you
Yep.
can get is fast food garbage,
Yep.
right? So yeah.
And then Uber Eats, and then it's
Right.
like $30 for freaking McDonald's. I'm like, you could have had an organic meal for probably less than that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
funny.
exactly what they would do. Yeah, because after, 10 o'clock, I mean, we would do that too if we forgot our food or whatever. Um, but yeah, packing your food is a really big thing. And then the other thing too, like with energy drinks, just like coffee, it's like an appetite suppressant. So
Yeah.
you're not gonna be hungry. I don't know if you've heard on Spotify, they do this commercial with Celsius and a firefighter. Oh, I'm
Oh,
gonna start my shift. I hear the alarm ringing. I'm gonna grab me a Celsius. I'm gonna get home, give my kids besitos, and off to work. I'm gonna grab me another Celsius. I'm like, when are you eating food? I'm like, this
right.
is not, oh, this is not, and that's the problem. Like you hear, just like
Yeah.
Big Pharma runs the ads on Spotify and TV. Then you have these energy drinks that is like making it acceptable and what should be common practice.
Yeah.
And then you hear, because I don't have the or the paid version of Spotify, but just the ads, it's McDonald's, it's Wendy's, it's Taco Bell, it's all this food.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why we're in the massive crisis we're in,
Hmm. Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
And then, so with all the education that you've had, like working with kids and your kids, like was there something that like kind of switched for you why you went more holistic? Or you said like you kind of, even when you were pregnant, you were more holistic, or did you have some shift?
No. No, as a nurse, right? We go through nursing school to work at the bedside. So I like to say it's almost like you're groomed to work in the hospital system because they don't tell you like you can run your own IV business. Like they don't tell you you can work here and all these other opportunities you have as a registered nurse. So with my first son, I did what I thought was right. I vaccinated him. Um, I did not, and I will say, like, I nursed both of my kids exclusively, that they never had an ounce of formula. I gave them the standard snacks,
Yeah.
goldfish, the tree bars.
Yeah.
But when my oldest, when he was an infant, he had pretty bad like cradle cap.
Mm.
And both my kids were full term, thank God, never really a complication. I was young
Yeah.
too. I was, I think, 23 or 24 when I had my
Okay.
first. And so fast forward when he's an infant and like toddler, he starts having eczema, classic eczema. And I had a pediatrician, he was a DO. He was like he let me spread out my vaccines, but he's gonna grow out of the eczema. And I'm like, well, why is this happening? Like, we're just gonna have to wait it out. I was like, okay. Then I got to a point where I was tired of waiting it out. I'm like, there has to be a reason why he is having eczema. And he was constipated. He didn't always
Mhm.
like I remember him poor his little body straining. So my then for my second, I had a doula. So my second labor was very different.
Yeah.
And she's still a good friend to this day. So she told me about a holistic pediatrician that would come to Florida like twice a month. So I went to see him, and he was the first person to say, eliminate dairy, wheat, gluten, eggs, and I recommend to stop vaccinating. And I'm like, really? So
Wow.
that's kind of what sparked my interest and just me taking a deeper dive and saying, okay, like what is there to this?
Yeah.
And I did the dropped laundry detergent that they tell us to buy. I did the things I was supposed to do. And that is basically what catapulted me into this health journey that I've been on for, almost 16 years. And I stopped vaccinating my children. I changed laundry detergent, I changed our food storage, I changed our cleaning products, I changed what we buy. I just changed everything over a span of time. And then mind you, like when I was a nurse, like a young nurse, like I stopped at KFC, McDonald's, that's what I did. And I was thin. And I'm like, oh, this is whatever. I just need to grab something. But I wasn't strong. I
Yeah.
was skinny. So that's basically like once I started really having like I took off the blinders, right? I was able to understand and just do a lot of research and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. And then the other thing too was one of the creams that was prescribed to him. I remember it said like they can get leukemia, and I'm like, hell no.
Yeah.
And I worked with cancer patients, you
Yeah.
know.
You're like, no.
So, right, exactly. So that's another reason why I'm like, let me just go talk to this doctor. And yeah, that's just what led me down. So then the more I started to learn, the less I aligned with Western medicine and what they're doing. And I always like to tell people before they get all, oh my gosh, I'm like, time out. Western medicine has a time and a place.
Yes.
I worked in adult psych a little bit. I know it's good for state emergency stabilization.
Yeah.
I will only take my kids to the hospital if it's warranted. Like my son needed a staple in his head. I gotta take him. Like,
Yeah.
there's certain times where you need to go to the hospital, and that's why it's there, right? If you're septic, you need antibiotics. And then I started using essential oils and homeopathic. So we haven't had Tylenol and Motrin in our house for years, and my kids have not had it
Oh,
for
okay.
years.
Yeah.
So I don't use any generic like what's sold over the counter. I'm very particular with that too, just like with everything. So that is how I got into this world. And then, working at the bedside, we have to follow doctor's orders. So it's not like I can tell a mom, yeah, we're just gonna let your child spike a fever so that way it can kill the germs in there because
Yeah. Could
they're
you
gonna look at
imagine
me
the
like I'm crazy.
response?
Oh, I'd probably get written up. Are you crazy? So yeah, they'd probably tell, like, be like, "You're hurting my child." I'm like, actually, I'm not, but whatever.
Yeah.
That's what you think. So that's what propelled me into this whole world of how
That's
we should
amazing.
be living.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, like, for someone maybe that's just getting into, like you're saying, you did your own research and kind of like self-taught with some things. Like, if
Yeah.
there's a mom or parents or people that are wanting to, not even, it doesn't have to be parents, I guess, but someone looking at getting more holistic or natural, is there like a starting place or something you would recommend of like something they could start doing?
Yes. I would say your home cleaners, what you clean your house with, just for the simple fact of we use them every single day, right?
Yeah.
Because I really like to harp on like control what you can control, and that's the four walls of your house. I just did a master class on house cleaners and toxic chemicals. So that's a really good place to start. You're cleaning your countertops. you're cleaning your bathrooms, and then when you spray the spray, that those aerosols are being inhaled into your body. And
Right.
a lot of chemicals that are there, some of them can cause developmental reproductive challenges, skin allergies, asthma exacerbations, skin irritation. So, like if you have a child with eczema, that's definitely something that you want to pay attention to because when you're washing your clothes, right, it's touching our skin. When you have a pet or a baby that's crawling on the floor, they're touching and crawling what's on the floor.
Yeah.
So that's a really good place to start. I use Branch Basics, been using them for years. Thankfully, we have a very relatively great, healthy household besides very random, colds, which we're gonna get sick, right?
Yeah.
So that's a really good place to start is with cleaners. And then you can start, it's kind of like you want to take a first step, and usually that runs into a snowball effect. And if you're a mom looking to conceive, I would say definitely find a provider that is aligned with what you believe in. There's a lot of providers that will not accept you if you choose not to vaccinate. Find somebody else. There are a lot of providers that don't care if you vaccinate. Obviously, it's a choice. So definitely do your research on that. I would definitely stay away from very big practices that have like 10 pediatricians because that's like a factory, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to be taking the time to sit with you. So be very intentional about your pediatrician provider when you have a baby.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
really
really
good. I know it's
important.
so true. Like even like we've gone to like a dentist or something, right? And you can just see a
Yep.
difference of like how much the costs are. Like you're saying, the bigger ones versus smaller practices too, right? Like
Yes,
it's
they have the
all those.
time. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to say the word picky, but I'm very particular and intentional about who sees my kids. Even like the chiropractor that we go to, the dentist that they go to, I take my time to make sure that they believe what I believe, which is how the body is supposed to work,
Yeah.
and not just want to push meds.
With your husband, has there ever
Yeah.
been like I'm gonna go not deep, but like we'll see how this goes.
Mm.
Like conflict between like your mindset with health and wellness compared to his, the way he sees things.
So when I first told him, I'm like, we're not vaccinating the kids anymore. He was like, is that a good idea? And I'm like, I'm telling him why. So he was on board. My husband is like, whatever you buy, he's like, well, it's expensive. And I'm like, well, yes, because this is like an investment, like even like for snacks and stuff or just food that we'll buy. Um, because I do not use like your typical supplements. Like anything that I use is a bit more expensive because of quality.
Yeah.
Um, so he's on board. He doesn't really give me, any difficulties when it comes to that. Like now he'll be like, "Oh, look at this. It has this ingredient in it." So even my kids know how to read food labels.
Yeah.
They know what to stay away from. Now, doesn't mean they're perfect, no, because my son and husband had Culver's like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
They had a coupon for my son's birthday,
Yeah.
but that's like once a month or once every other month or something. So we're not like we primarily eat at home. But thankfully, and with him being a first responder, like I know he is like bombarded with chemicals and when they're putting out fires, so I mean, men are just a bit more challenging when it comes to that. God knows why. I don't know what their deal is.
Yeah.
But it's not just him, it's just men in general too with their health.
Hmm.
So like now he's finally like putting electrolytes in his water and minerals before, it's just he has to get into the habit of doing it. But
Yeah.
I'm
And
like,
it's
it's
if
a
you've never done it, it's like,
morning.
yeah, creating that habit, like
Yeah,
you said, right?
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And then
because like,
realizing how like you feel a certain way not using it. And then when
yep.
you start implementing it, you're like, oh, this is what it feels like to actually
Right.
feel good this way. And like, yeah, not being exhausted and all the shift work. Like when you start,
Yep.
you're like, oh, this isn't normal. And then when you feel
Yeah.
what normal should be, right?
Exactly. Yeah, because there's a difference between and I've seen this a lot too, and it makes so much sense. Like, what's common? Like constipation is common.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it normal for you to be constipated.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's common to have 4 cups of coffee, but is that normal and is that what you should be doing? No.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a lot of There's a lot of things in health and nutrition, and plus, like with social media and all these influencers out there, like pushing,
Yeah.
because there's influencers that push these products that just don't have good ingredients in them. And we're falling for that, not we, like me and you, but like
Yeah.
other people who have good intentions and want to keep their bodies healthy.
Or
So
don't
people
know
just,
don't know the long-term
right.
effects from it.
Exactly. So people just have to be very careful, and don't always fall for like that shiny, shiny little treat. You always want to, anytime like I follow somebody or like a company, like Just Ingredients, for example. I've been
Hmm.
following her for years, but I know her story. I know her ethics. I know like where she comes from. I don't have to question any of her products. Just like the other stuff I use, like I know their founders, I know their mission, I know their vision, and that's like what's really important to me,
Yeah. And
with
like
stuff
you
like
said,
that.
like, yes, you're paying more money for things, but like long-term health-wise, like it's preventative over the reactive stuff that could come down the road that's going to cost you way
Oh
more
yeah.
money than
Yep.
putting the money and investment into things now.
Exactly. And when it comes to things like that, I'm very grateful. Like my husband is 46, I'm 41, and we're not on any prescription medications, praise
Yep.
God. And that's the way I want it to be, unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
Because people are like, yeah, I'm on meds. Okay, that costs you to go to your provider, that costs you to go pick it up after work. Then you need to make an adjustment because then you don't feel good. Then you need to get another medication for the side effect of that. So it's like this
Yeah.
ongoing hamster wheel of like, you realize you can get off of that. Like there's so people also don't realize the power that they have in their health.
Yes.
And they don't, for some reason, like want to take the reins, but will let their doctor, who their doctor knows them all of 15 minutes, like they don't know what's going on. So like with my clients, I ask them like, what's going on with you? Like we get so deep because I, as a practitioner, I need to know what's going on. Like, do you have an energy block somewhere? Like, so like one client I have now, poor thing, got turned away, dismissed by her rheumatologist because he's like, I can't help you.
Crazy.
And I hear that all the time too. And then if we think about cancer rates, like now we're seeing an increase in cancer rates, like people in their 20s to 40s,
Yeah.
which is crazy, like colon cancer. So again, that's linked to processed foods. Like, look, my mom's like, oh, but it's the same. I'm like, no, it's not the same. Like stuff that we probably ate as kids, it doesn't taste the same as
Not at
now.
all. Yeah.
It's vastly different.
I know. I just ate a mango this morning and I was like, this mango does not taste like how I remember tasting. Or when you go somewhere else where they're more locally grown, right? You're like, this is
Right. Yeah.
completely different.
So different. So
Yeah.
different. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, like you mentioned too, with like taking medications, like it stops the one symptom, but then it brings up all these other ones. And like you said, then you just keep adding and you have this whole pile of pills that you have to take every day, right?
Yep. Rather than, hey, let's see why. Like, periods are a perfect example. Teenagers,
Hmm.
these parents are putting their daughters on blood birth control because they can't regulate their periods. Hello, that's a red flag. If
Yeah.
your child cannot regulate their period, your body's like, send help, please, send help.
That's so
But
good.
we're thinking like, oh yeah, just slap birth control, which is gonna screw up your hormones even worse, and it can wreck your gut too. And then like the amount of women that are struggling with infertility, it is
It's
so disheart
insane.
it's
Yeah, it's so
insane.
sad.
It makes you mad. It's
Yeah.
saddening. Like, why are they having a problem?
Or even like my husband was a paramedic before too, and I remember him like with calls. Like I never had it happen with me with when I worked at EMS, but yeah, like he'd have like 20-year-olds that were getting like I don't know if I'm probably gonna say it wrong, like pulmonary embolisms or like something going on with, and they linked it all back to like the birth control, but they would never actually say it. But like they were trying to figure out like why is this 21-year-old having a PE when they're like, oh, it's from birth control.
Of course it
Like,
is.
yeah.
And if you could go to like the insert and look at the side effects and then
Oh,
look
the
at the
pamphlet.
ingredients actually in there, exactly that pamphlet that nobody goes over with you,
Yeah.
right? That's in there. Birth control is knowingly like you can have blood clot issues and PEs from that. And
Yeah.
then when we're like, oh my God, I'm so happy I'm not getting a period. What? No, you need to
Yeah.
get a period. Like I am 41 and praise God, like I still get my period once a month.
Yeah, same. I know, and I'm regular, and I haven't been on birth control
Yeah,
since like I was on it saying that I did the whole thing as a teenager because you want to be regular and like not heavy periods. And then yeah, after with my kids, I'm like I never went back on it, and it's been
yeah,
14 years, and yeah, it's like regular every month. Like
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I went on birth control like before I got married. I had bad acne like on my chest, back and face, and I would get this cystic acne here.
Mm,
So I went on Accutane and I had to be on birth control. And then I ended up not having, I wasn't able to finish the Accutane because my LFTs were in rising.
yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm not doing that again.
Right? Yeah.
But that was like before I got married, but then I never went. I think I did. I'm pretty sure I went on birth control before we decided to stop. So that was we can get pregnant.
Yeah.
Um, but like I wasn't on birth control in high school or anything. So the my duration of birth control usage was very short. It
Okay.
wasn't like 10, 15 years like you hear these people.
Yeah. Or
So
like you
though
said,
you
people with like
yeah.
IUDs and it's like no period. I'm like that. You're supposed to get one. Like,
So I had a client, she had her IUD in for like an additional, because you're supposed to take it out. I can't remember right now, but she was supposed to take it out like 3 or 4 years ago. And
holy.
I'm going through her, like, like I had paperwork, like I have a
Yeah.
nutritional assessment questionnaire and initial interview paperwork and a food and mood journal that I have my clients keep. And I'm like piecing together her, her symptoms. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is what you need to do. You need to get this out like right now.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
think
it's
I'm
wild.
pretty
And
sure she ended up
it's
doing
like
it.
you said, it's like I was on a course recently too about like you're talking about like doctors and the labels. Like as soon as you have this label or title to yourself, like we automatically like assume this different professional level, right? Or like it's like you've accomplished something or you are somebody where it's like somebody doesn't have a degree or master's or whatever. But I'm like,
Right.
yes, but those people could have self-taught education experience, have lived experience themselves, where I'm like,
Yes.
your doctor maybe hasn't gone through that, but
Right.
then yes, doctors do have a lot of knowledge, right? I'm not
They
discrediting
do.
that.
They do
But
for
then
sure.
you're like, in certain areas they specialize in certain things so they don't have that full knowledge in the other area and it's
Exactly.
interesting to see getting second opinions or
Mm-hmm.
giving all these meds and prescriptions and all these things out when I'm like well you really like aren't specialized in that area like so yeah it's just interesting that way I find too it's like as soon as you hear like no I'm gonna take that advice from my doctor I'm like but there's nutritionists and naturopaths and like other people that have tons of knowledge that like get a different result right like it's
Right.
just
Yeah.
interesting
But then they don't see changes and they still feel like crap. Like, okay, you keep going to your doctor and
yeah
keep doing what you want to do.
yeah
Um, but yeah, people, and that's the other thing too. You like, I tell, like my clients, I'm like, and people like, even on my social media, I'm like, you have to understand if you don't align with your doctor, you can fire them. You can be like, you know what, I'm gonna find another provider. They're gonna find another patient. They're
yeah
not gonna lose sleep over you. I promise you that. But you as a patient, like if you are not feeling like they're not listening to you, girl, go find somebody else, especially if it's with your child, go find
yes
somebody else.
yeah
Because what happens is doctors and some doctors that are new pediatricians, they think they know everything and they don't know shit because you don't listen to that mom that's telling you. And that's my biggest thing. Like when I work with a peds client, I talk to my client who's the kid, but I
yeah
also listen to that parent because I'm just getting to know your kid. Just like in the hospital when I was at bedside, I was
yeah
like, okay, mom, if you see any changes with him, let me know. Because I'm only meeting you just for like a couple of hours, but you know
right
your son like the back of your hand or daughter.
yeah
So that's like the other thing. Like providers just don't listen to their families because
or they
have
don't have the time, right? Like they have these scheduled
yeah,
blocks of like 20 to
exactly.
30-minute appointments, and it's
Right.
just like again a revolving door of getting through their day and getting to see
Yeah.
clients.
And that's why some providers are going towards like concierge medicine
Oh, interesting.
because, yeah, they don't have to deal with health insurance. They can do like a membership, for their patients. They can have more time with them. Those providers that are doing that because they want to they're kind of tired of that sick care model.
Yeah.
So that's why, just like holistic professionals, that's why we don't take health insurance because I don't want somebody telling me, number one, I would not want to deal with it. But number two, they're gonna tell you like, okay, well, why are you drawing this lab? You can't draw this lab because of this.
Yeah.
And number three, like I spend a lot of time with my clients. Like that first call can be anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half, because there's just
Yeah.
so much that we have to dig in, and really just dig deep. And, I really take pride in that. And I know a lot of other holistic practitioners really invest their time in their clients.
Yeah. And that's great to hear. And I feel like there is a shift happening with
Hmm.
some healthcare, with
Yep.
practitioners, with the way things are going. Like there's
Yep.
still obviously, like you mentioned, big pharma and who sponsors who and who knows, like if you're the conspiracy stuff, right? Like there's still all those things going on. But
Oh
I do
yeah.
see that people are questioning things more. And like you said, changing providers or looking up and doing the research and doing different things and approaches compared to just going straight to being like, give me a medication, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not how that works. But
That's awesome. Is there anything else like words of wisdom, anything you would want to provide to somebody that's maybe going through a health struggle right now, has tried going to their doctor, trying all these things, and nothing seems to be working? Like I know you said
yeah.
cleaning supplies, but is there anything else you could think of that would be like a piece of
Yeah, I'm
advice?
really big on like reading your food ingredients, going through your pantry. A lot of people get very guarded when like, don't touch my pantry. Why? Because there's an emotional attachment there. A lot of I've had some clients in the past too that have like food is my comfort. Like,
Mhm.
okay. And that's where I would challenge like, well, what else can we replace instead of that? But also making that person aware, like, okay, do you like tell me what are your stressors? So finding out what's triggering you to run to that food, and
Yeah.
then having that awareness too, like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was going to that to make me feel better. But then now you've put on this weight, now you're pre-diabetic because of the choices that you're making. But that's okay because you can make yourself unpre-diabetic by managing stress, managing sleep. But your refrigerator and your pantry, it's like your medicine cabinet.
It is.
So
Yeah.
if you have sodas, if you have processed cereals, cookies, bread like Nature's Own, Sara Lee, Thomas's English muffins, get that out. A lot of that is going to be sprayed, especially the grains are going to be sprayed with glyphosate. Glyphosate is a very big pesticide that's been actually linked to cancer.
Okay.
So you want to opt for organic ingredients. Some organic ingredients will have a label that says glyphosate free. So there's like one mighty meal bread is delicious. That's what we use. 1 degree oatmeal is really good. There's no glyphosate. That's organic oats. Again, looking at how much milk you're drinking. Are you drinking conventional milk? What type of eggs are you eating? Are you even eating breakfast in the morning?
Right. Yeah.
So that's another really big thing that I myself didn't do like 5 years ago. My drill was wake up, make coffee, take the kids to school, work out, come home, and I wouldn't eat till like 11 or 12. And
Yeah.
then I had that cortisol dump between 2 or 3. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta make another coffee. But I didn't know at the time that's what it was until I went to NTP school. Like, oh, I was doing that to myself. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't do that anymore. Um, but yeah, your fridge and pantry and your grocery cart, like I will look at I'll watch people. So if somebody is like has a drink in their hand, I'm like, yeah, so this is a better option. Like I will freely just give advice
Yeah.
because I see them confused and maybe they want to try that product. I don't know. So I had um I had this one lady. She was a I was what was I buying? Oh, I was trying to find a good sour cream. And they were looking at butter. They're looking at Land O'Lakes butter, which has inflammatory oils. I'm like, oh, look, like this brand truly pastures really good. It's
Yeah.
good quality. And she kind of looked at me. She's like, yeah, we'll get that next, and we'll get the Land O'Lakes. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And she was pretty overweight herself, but like if you see you have an overweight mom, and I'm saying overweight because that's what it is. You're
Yeah.
overweight,
Yeah.
but call it like it is, okay?
Right. Yeah.
So, unfortunately, this mom is pretty overweight. I'm looking at her shopping cart, and what do I see? Junk.
Yeah.
Or think we're buying food. Gatorade is not a healthy electrolyte. There is at least 30 something grams of sugar in a one bottle that I think is like 500 mLs.
Yeah.
And there's artificial colors in there. And her kids were overweight too. So it's these generational habits that we're passing down.
Hmm.
And that's why a lot of people think that type 2 diabetes is genetic. It's not genetic. It's genetic in the sense that nobody's changed the habits that these kids and their kids and their kids have changed. Nobody's working out. They're
Yeah.
on the couch. They're tired because they're overweight. They just want to eat junk food and then they wonder why they have fatty liver disease.
Yeah. And it's
And then
crazy
you
too
just,
because they don't really even like they're like, oh, people are picky eaters. I'm like, no, they just don't know what real food or good food
yeah,
actually tastes like. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. They're buying dino nuggets and they're buying, pizza that has God knows how many calories
Yeah.
in that. And I'm not a big calorie person, and what I mean by that is I don't count my calories because you could have a Debbie Swiss roll that has, let's say, 100 calories and an apple that has 100 calories.
Yeah.
So if somebody's tracking their calories, like, oh, but I'm gonna have a sweet because it's in my calorie goal. I'm like,
Hmm.
well, no, you want to eat an apple that's gonna give you food.
Yeah. The
So like that's
nutritional
like
difference.
exactly. You have to like sometimes calories that people that count them, they're not eating the best
Yeah.
because of the quality of that food,
Yeah, and
you
it's
know.
hard to like I know like you're saying like buy it like something needs to shift to I think in the food industry where
Hmm.
like yes, obviously better quality stuff costs more money, but it's like why can't we go back to just having those better quality products as the norm and having less of the crap food, right? But yeah, like
Yeah.
the cost of producing and all that, like the better quality is more so then yeah, you have some of these families that are buying so much processed food because it's
Yeah.
cheaper. But then like you said, there are some things now you look at, you're like, no, that actually is the same price as if you bought the crap food too.
And cereal is expensive. Like a
Yeah.
box will be like $7, $8. I'm like, for cereal, that's not gonna give. So I was at my son's sports game. I was helping in concessions, and this mom came the first time she came, she bought, I think, like pizza and a soda.
Yeah.
And then she comes back again. Her daughter's like doing cartwheels and has a cough. And she's like, oh my gosh, like, this girl's driving me crazy. And she gets a hot dog. She's like, you want a soda? Do you want gummy bears? She buys her daughter a can of Pepsi
Yeah.
and gummy bears. So you, as a parent, you are causing your child to have these behaviors.
Yeah.
You don't give your 7-year-old the option. Do you want a soda? Absolutely not. They get water,
Yeah.
So it's like the parents, again, like it's not their fault.
No.
They don't know.
Yeah.
But like we need to be critically thinking here. Okay, let me just look to see how much sugar's in here. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
sugar, I mean, we know, and it's been said even on the news that red 40 is linked to hyperactivity and ADHD.
Hmm.
Gatorade has red 40. Powerade has red 40 if it's like the fruit punch flavor.
Yeah.
So if you know that your child is struggling with that, don't give that to them. Don't give, number one, don't give them the choice either. Because
Yeah.
parents, like I see it so much. Okay, do you want this? Do you want that? If I cook in my household, I cook one meal. I do not make a meal for everybody.
Yeah. It's so
And
funny
that's
seeing in
where,
restaurants, like there's like the adult menu and the kids menu. And then
yeah,
like even my kids, they always order off the adult menu. And people are like,
yeah.
oh, like they don't want the stuff like random processed stuff off the kids menu. Like why can't the kids menu just be smaller portions of the adult menu?
Right, but it's always chicken nuggets, grilled cheese, mac and cheese
Yeah.
because that's what kids eat. Like, well,
Yeah.
they need to eat food. Like, and I always say as parents, like it is our responsibility for laying that nutritional foundation for our children. Because if we don't, they are definitely going to have metabolic dysfunction.
Yeah. I know, and it's like my husband loves to cook, and my son, like you're talking about, like teaching those habits and patterns. Like
Yep.
my son, they love to cook, and yet the other day my son makes a steak and eggs. Well, my husband's working like his flight medic stuff, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, we're taking like a psych 14-year-old to whatever," and it's like, "What's your 14-year-old doing?" He's like, "Making steak and eggs at home," right? Like it's just these differences of like it's crazy. Like yeah,
Yep. Yeah. I know it's important. Like, like your kids make food, like my kids will reheat up food and they'll make protein shakes.
yeah,
But they're very, they think probably I'm a little nuts. I'm sure your kids do, but I just reinforce to them that I'm doing this for the benefit of your health.
Yeah.
And you'll see that as you get older, like, oh my gosh, my mom, does this and that. But it's always for a reason. And I
And
think that's a really big a part with children. You need to explain to them like why you're doing something.
yeah,
Because if you don't, they're not gonna understand. Like even when I worked at bedside, and the mom's like, "Oh no, no, don't tell them it hurts." I'm like, "I'm not gonna say that. They're not gonna
right.
trust me." So
Yeah.
I don't agree with like lying to kids because they're not gonna trust you, and they're pretty smart.
Yeah.
You know,
They
kids
figure
get
things
a,
out, are intuitive.
they do, they really do, they do a
Yeah.
lot.
And like you said too, it's a balance of um like you're saying, like eating healthy, but then not being the extreme one way or the other, right? Like, yeah, like
Exactly.
80,
Yep.
90% like having healthy, but the autumn having those treats. Because like, yeah, my husband, my mother-in-law was like very, yeah, like very health conscious, right? But then it was
Hmm.
like they weren't allowed ever to have like craft dinner or cereal or whatever in his house. So then he would go to his friends' houses growing up and they would just eat all the crap there and then
Right.
like binge on it because they weren't allowed it in the house, which
Yeah.
there's like that, yeah, what is that kind of balance, right? And
Yeah.
now it's like, yeah, you said like the kids can have the odd thing where they experience it, but it's not like fully like stocked cupboards and pantries of pop and chips and
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, like we went to Sprouts the other day and my boys were with me. I'm like, all right, guys, you have a yes day. Pick
yeah,
one thing each. So my son picked organic, the Newman's Own organic Oreos.
yeah.
And then my other son picked, I think like a juice, like an
Okay.
organic lemonade juice.
Yeah.
But like if they're, like if I do it, I'll do it because my kids are 15 and almost 17. So like last Easter, I did an egg hunt and I did a yes day.
Yeah.
So I let them go to Target. Like my one of my kids got Lucky Charms, the other one got Nerds. So I'm not like super strict either. Like there's no
Yeah.
perfection in our household.
Yeah.
Like, but if we go out to eat, I am intentional of where we go. So like we have a really good pizza place here. It's all sourdough. He sources his food. He uses organic ingredients. So I will go there. Like we'll go there to eat,
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
So it's also being intentional like with going out as well.
Hmm.
Like you don't always have to go to like Outback, which is disgusting.
Right? Or yeah, or you go get
Oh,
something and then afterwards you just feel so gross. Like if you haven't
so
eaten it forever, you're
gross.
like, that was not a
Yeah.
good idea.
And your body's like, we didn't like that,
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. And like, yeah, your body just gives you those messages. Like if you're getting
Hmm.
headaches all the time, or like you said, all the skin stuff, it's like your
Yeah.
body's trying to tell you something that you need to change.
Yeah, you have to listen to it, but we ignore it so much.
Hmm.
And that's not okay because then we can't expect our body to work for us if we're not listening to it,
Yeah.
you know?
Or like you said, then people take medications to like
Hmm.
minimize it instead
Right.
of figuring out how you can just eliminate it instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming on today. Is there any other last things you want to cover that I didn't ask you or go over?
Oh, let's see. Oh, I wanted to touch on grief really quickly,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
we work in the medical field.
Of course. Yeah.
So, like, I'm going through a grief journey of where my dad died 6 months ago. Very traumatic, very life-changing, obviously. And, when you work in as a first responder, even healthcare, a lot of times they see death all the time. And it's just really important to like honor your emotions. Like if you're having a bad day, just be in it and not stuff it down because if we put those and we kind of touched on emotions like a little bit earlier,
Yeah.
but if we stuff it down, it's gonna manifest in some way. Like you're not gonna want to sleep, you're not gonna be eating, you're gonna be very short with your family. So like embrace that journey if you're on it and embrace it for the beauty and for the pain, and then seek help if you need it, but just embrace it. It's
Yeah, and
hard.
I think, yeah, and I
It's
think,
really
like
hard.
you said, even like as a parent, like there's grief, maybe something going on, yeah, like sick kids, or like you're saying, like
Hmm.
being in the industry you've been in for 20 years, like the amount of grief you've had to go, things you've had to deal with and trauma, and then your husband with his firefighting, the stuff he's exposed to, and then like it all encompasses like you come home And then it's like, yeah, what information do you share, not share? Like,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
without, like, I said it on another call with someone else. Like, I've heard it before from someone. It was called like sliming your partner, or sliming somebody, right? Where you're like, are you in the headspace to listen to this right now? Or do
Right.
you need space, or do you need to find someone else to talk to so that you're not adding more onto that person's plate too?
Right. Yeah, and it's hard like when you don't get it, like people that have had a loss, like a parent or a child, it's really hard for your friends to get it. You know, like I go to a grief share, so it's at a church and everybody in that group has lost a family member.
Yeah.
So those people like get the pain. So it's really nice to find a community that gets that because like, like I can talk to my husband about it because my husband is he's good at like detaching himself. So
Yeah.
thankfully he doesn't get like super burnt out or anything like that. And my sister's an oncology nurse, so like we can talk to each other and understand.
Hmm.
So, even if your spouse doesn't understand, like still talk to them, but also like find your people that get you.
Yeah. And I think
It's
like you
really
said too,
nice.
it's different when it's family or friends that pass away versus like you're exposed to death in your job. So
Yeah.
you understand like what death looks like. Where if
Yeah.
somebody, like you're saying, has never either experienced death or
Hmm.
witnessed someone passing away, right?
Yeah.
Like
They won't
it's
get it.
different experience too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. I'm like, we'll end it here.